Okay. Good morning, AnneMarie, and thank you so much for taking out the time to be here for this 50 minutes intake assessment. My name is Thelma J, and I will be supporting you through this intake process. But if at any time you have any question, please feel free to ask me, and I'll be more than willing to answer any question you may have. But before we proceed further, I want to explain a little bit about our confidentiality policies. Um, and I want to assure you that your confidentiality is important to us. And every information you share with me during this process stays within this room and is kept confidential. But only in certain situation your confidentiality can be breached if um, like your confidentiality can be breached where it is outlined by law, where it places you at risk or others. So in that situation, any situations like that includes um, situation involving abuse or neglect, and it requires the 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 law of order to disclose that information. So which will breach your confidentiality. But other than that, every information you provide me is protected. But also another instance where confidentiality can be breached is if you give unauthorized persons access to your records. And in such situations, regarding your like a release of information to your care team, your medical provider, and other members of your care team. So is that correct? Does that sound good to you?
Yes.
Okay, so if that sounds good, I would like for you to sign the consent form, and it's on the right corner of your the form that I gave you earlier.
Yes.
So um,
There you go.
okay, thank you so much. So also, I would like to encourage you to ask any question at any time regarding your confidentiality if you're not clear about anything. And just be assured that this is a safe place, a safe environment where you can share your concerns and any question you may have. Is that okay?
Yes. Yes. I had a question. If there's a question I don't feel comfortable answering, do I have to answer that? Or
Okay. Yeah. If you're not comfortable answering any question, we can look into that some other time whenever you're comfortable.
okay.
Then we can go. I understand some of the questions that is included in this process might be sensitive or something. So if you're not comfortable answering any of those questions, kindly let me know and we'll proceed to any other questions that you may be comfortable answering. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much for your understanding. So the next phase in this intake process, I'm gonna be asking you a little bit about your personal information. I know you did um, you filled out a form about your demographics, but I just want to confirm those information this time. So is that okay? Okay, thank you so much. So I'm going to verify your personal information I have on file. So is you are AnneMarie Reese, is that correct? Yes. Okay, thank you. So and you live on 95 Somewhere Street, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And your date of birth is August 1, 1983. Is that correct?
Yes, 1980.
1980. Okay. Thank you so much. And I want to assure you that our conversation here is confidential. What you share with me stays with between me and you within this room, and I'm here to um, listen to you without judgment, and will support you through exploring your personal experiences. Is that okay?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. So, I'm going to ask you a few questions right now. So, are you currently taking any medication?
I'm just taking Zyrtec and Singular for my seasonal allergies.
Okay, thank you so much. So, are you currently seeing a medical provider?
Um, yes, I am.
You are. So, could you kindly describe the reason for the medical treatment you're receiving currently?
Well, I'm under medical treatment for pelvic floor dysfunction, and I'm currently seeing a urogynecologist and a pelvic floor therapist right now.
Okay. So, have you undergone any type of surgeries in the past?
I've had breast augmentation, gallbladder removal, and I've had a partial hysterectomy.
Okay. Um, are you currently having any physical symptoms like headaches?
Um, I've had a lot of headaches. I've had some dizziness going on. Um, I've had I've had a little depression, felt a little fatigue, uh, having a lot of problems with my stomach, my some bowel disturbances as well.
Okay. So, are you currently feeling any of those symptoms right now?
Right now I feel a little anxious about being here. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So, do you consume alcohol?
I'd say very rarely, maybe one time a month, maybe.
Okay. Do you do any kind of recreational drugs?
Oh no.
Okay. Do you exercise? And how many times a week do you exercise if you do?
I do exercise. I exercise about 5 times a week.
5 times a week? Okay. Um, could you kindly describe your health status right now?
I think overall, I have my health is good. I'm just having the pelvic floor dysfunction issues that is due to my hysterectomy. And I've had some problems with my stomach as well. Um, and then also, that's all impacting my sexual health.
Hmm. Okay. So the next set of questions that I'm going to be asking you is about your family history. Is that okay? Okay. So, what is your mother's name?
Jean,
Your mother's name is Jane. Okay. So, what is your father's name?
Eugene.
Eugene. So, when did you last have contact with your parents?
Um, it's been a couple weeks ago.
A couple of weeks ago?
Hmm.
Okay. So, and what type of contact was that?
By the telephone.
By telephone?
Mhm.
Another question I want to ask you is, are your parents supportive of you?
Oh, yes, very much.
Yeah. Good. Okay. That's very good. So, any history of drug use in your family?
Uh, no.
No, no drug use. Okay. So, did any of your parents abuse you when you were young?
Oh no, not at all. No.
Okay. Okay. So, how was your growing up like?
I grew up in a really good household. I I had a younger sister, and I grew up in church. My parents took me to church. I'd say my family was pretty supportive.
Okay. Okay. So, okay, you said you grew up in a church. You grew up with your younger sister.
Hmm.
That's right. So, how did you handle punishment when you were growing up?
Um, in my house, I was very compliant, so I pretty much always did what I was told. So I didn't really get punished a lot. If I did, I would lose privileges, like lose my telephone in my room or something like that. But I know I got spankings when I was younger, but it was rare, and I handled them well, I guess.
Okay. So, how was affection shown in your home?
Affection was definitely shown, but I'd say it was shown very like moderately. Um, I did see my parents show affection for each other, but I think it was kind of rare.
Okay. Okay. So, how was conflict handled in your home?
I feel like conflict was more handled by avoiding it. I feel like sometimes there wasn't a lot of communication. Things would go unspoken.
That's good. So, did you get along with your family growing up?
Yeah, I did. I got along well with my family. Um, just pretty much did what I was told, didn't ask a lot of questions. Um, my sister and I are very far apart in age, so we didn't argue or anything. Um, didn't really, I would say we didn't have much of a relationship because of our age difference.
Hmm. Okay. So, what words best describe your childhood experiences?
I would say sheltered. I was very sheltered as a child. My parents were protective um, and strict about like what I did, what I watched, who I was with. Um, so yeah, I think sheltered is a good word.
Okay. So, are your parents currently married, separated, or like kind of divorced?
They're still married.
They're still married. Good. So, are there any history of addiction in your family?
I have a family history, and it's not my parents, but like my grandfather, and I have some um, aunts and uncles that have like um, prescription drug addiction, some street drug addiction, um,
Mm-hmm.
nicotine, alcohol. I would even go as far as a food addiction. That would be something
Mm.
I'd say my mother struggled with food addiction. Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. We're gonna talk more about those. So, who was your primary caretaker when you were growing up?
My mother was.
Your mother was. So, who was your closest? Who were you closest with in your family?
Definitely my mom.
Your mom. Who were you least close to in your family?
I would probably say my little sister, just because we were so far apart in age.
Okay. So, did you feel safe as a child?
Oh yes.
You did. So, how well did your parents get along with each other?
I'd say my parents got along pretty good. They had their average share of arguments. But I'd say most things were just kind of left like not talked about, kind of avoided things.
Mm, I see. So, thank you so much for answering those questions. So, next, is gonna be we're gonna be talking about your background history. That's your background history. So, are you comfortable talking about this right now?
Yes, I'll do my best. I'll let you know if I don't feel comfortable discussing something that I think I'll.
Okay. So, thank you so much. So, what were your parents' attitude towards sex? And would you like to share a little bit about that, if you
Um,
will?
sure. Sex was very, as you would say, very taboo in my family. Just something you didn't talk about. Didn't really didn't joke about it. It was just something that was unspoken.
Mm, okay. So, what were the names used for your genital as a child?
We said words like your private parts or your bottom. We didn't use any technical terms or slang terms like that.
Mm, okay. So, how did you learn about sex? And I mean, like, who taught you about sex?
Um, I I would say like probably the first things I learned was my best friend had a teenage sister and she would tell us things. So
Mm,
yeah, so from a teenager.
I see. Okay. So, how old were you when you first learned about sex?
Um, I would say I was probably about 10 years old or so.
Mm, 10 years old?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. So, how was your sexual questions answered?
I'd say as I got older in my, probably high school years, I would through friends or I'd read like teen magazines and Cosmopolitan, and there was articles about sex. I would read those out of curiosity.
Okay. So, we often discuss personal experiences that might shape your life, and some of these experiences can be difficult to talk about, but it's important for me to understand your history fully. So, with that in mind, I want to ask if you've ever experienced any form of abuse or trauma during your childhood.
Um, yes and no. I'd have to kind of explain it. I had when I was about 5 years old, I had a my cousin. She was the same age as me. She was actually being molested by her stepfather. Um, but she was kind of acting out some of those with me. We would play together. She would want to play doctor or things like that. I just remember her
Mhm.
kind of touching me in places. Nothing like it only happened a couple of times, um, but I do remember that. So I don't know if you'd really call that molestation or anything like that because we were the same
No,
age.
okay, I see. So also these are kind of sensitive kind of questions. So if you don't feel comfortable discussing these topics right now, if you need some time to reflect on it, that is completely okay. And we can revisit this later whenever you're ready. Is that okay?
Yes.
So I would like would you like to share like a little bit about how nudity was handled in your home?
I say my parents are pretty particular about nudity. My mother never changed in front of me, sister. Um, Sometimes I don't even know if she even changed in front of my father, honestly. So,
I see. So, at what age did you first witness a sexual situation, and would you like to describe how or what it was?
I believe the first um, sexual situation I encountered was on a movie. Um, I think I was probably, I don't know, 7 or 8 years old. it was the movie Dirty Dancing. I remember it. I can still remember it. I guess probably because it was the first time I'd ever seen like anything like that. Um, so
Mm. So how did it make you feel?
it made me feel uncomfortable. I wasn't quite sure what that was about at that age. And looking back now, was kind of surprised that my parents actually let me watch that because they were pretty strict about what I watched.
I see. So how old were you when you first had your dates, your first date?
I was 16.
16.
Mhm.
Mm. So how would you describe your dating history from the first date to current?
I guess you could say I kind of started dating even though we weren't allowed to go anywhere together when I was 14. When I was 16, I could go on an unsupervised date. I dated the same guy from the ninth grade to the 12th grade. Broke up
Mm.
right after graduation. And then I got married at the age of 18 to,
Okay, so are you married currently?
yes, I am married.
Okay. So for how long
Uh,
is your
20,
marriage?
I've been married for 25 years.
25. That's a long time. So in your current relationship, what are your areas of compatibility?
We share the same interests. We share the same faith and life goals. I'd say we're definitely physically compatible, strong in our intimacy, for sure.
Okay. So in your current relationship, what are your areas of tension?
I think the biggest area of tension would be communication that really communication that that goes to parenting. Parenting is probably a big area of tension in our relationship.
Okay. So would you like to explain your personal faith and belief?
Yes, I was raised in a Christian home and I became a Christian when I was 12 years old and I believe the Bible and I believe um, in Jesus and God. And I all my values are based on the Bible.
Okay. So the next part is about your sexual experiences. Okay. So how old were you when you the first time you engaged in masturbation?
Um, I was probably 20 years old, and it was while I was being intimate with my husband.
Okay. And how did you learn about masturbation?
I guess I learned about it from him. Um, it's something that he like asked me to do. I didn't really know what
From
that was before that. So,
okay. So how old were you when you first engaged in sexual contact?
I would say if you would call like passionate kissing or making out, it's kind of like sexual contact in a way. I would say 14 years old.
Okay. So how old were you when you how old were you the first time you had sexual intercourse?
18 when I got married.
18 years old.
Mhm.
So have you ever had a sexually transmitted diseases?
No.
No. Okay. So how many sexual intercourse partners have you had?
Just one, just my husband.
Okay. So what is your sexual preference?
It would be adult males.
Okay. Okay. So is sex painful or pleasurable to you?
It was pleasurable until I recently started suffering from the pelvic floor dysfunction and the pelvic prolapse. Um,
Mm,
so the it's almost like my insides are kind of falling down, and
Mm,
it's causing pain in the pelvic region, especially with sex, vaginal dryness, making it a little harder to achieve orgasm as well.
hmm. So what is sexual stimulation to you?
Sexual stimulation can be, just the touch of my husband, like on, he touches me on my back or my neck, and, you know, even just a kiss.
Mm, okay. So what do you experience to uh what is your experience in your sexual interest?
Um, I'd say to know that I'm sexually interested. So I get an increase in the heart rate. Want to be more affectionate, probably kissing, hugging.
Okay. Okay. So are you satisfied with your sexual functioning?
Not currently, no. Um, my pelvic floor dysfunction issues have caused a lot of dissatisfaction in my life. So I'm often in pain and frustrated that my body can't function properly to enjoy that.
Okay. So what about are you satisfied with your partner's sexual functioning?
Yes.
You do. Okay. So has there been any change in your sexual desires?
Yes, and it's because of the pain and some of the dryness. So it's kind of harder to desire that because it's not enjoyable, and I just been equating it with pain and discomfort.
Okay. So has there been any change uh since the onset of that
Any change in what do you mean?
with your desires? I know you says
Oh,
your husband has not been in the mood uh because of your experiences.
yeah, I would say that it's kind of hurt both of our desire. Um, so yeah, it's not desirable for either of us right now because he knows that it's painful for me.
Okay. Do you have any difficulty achieving orgasm?
Yes.
So, if you could change your sexual experiences in any way, how would you want it to be different?
I just like to be able to enjoy my husband and have intercourse again and not have any pain and to be able to achieve orgasm again.
Okay. What method do you use for contraception
None.
or none? Okay. So, how often do you engage in sexual intercourse per month?
I would say it used to be probably an average of 12 times a month, but now it's probably maybe half of that, maybe 6 times per month.
Okay. So, what kind of touching is pleasurable to you?
I'd say kissing, um, body caressing, uh, breast touching, genital stimulation, those type of things.
Okay. So, how do you feel after intercourse?
Um, I used to feel pretty good. Um, I could go to sleep well, and now I feel pain, dissatisfaction. I feel bad because I know my husband can't enjoy it as much because I'm not enjoying it. so I don't feel good afterwards anymore.
Okay. So I want to ask you this question. So does how does sex make you feel? Anxious, depressed, fearful, frustrated, happy, energized, connected, or you're content in love? So how does it make you feel? Could you kindly explain?
I think now it's a lot of negative feelings, really anxious, depressed, fearful of the pain, frustrated because my body doesn't work right. Um, the positive emotions I used to feel before I had all these problems.
Hmm. Okay. So are you experiencing any sexual difficulty?
I'm experiencing pain with intercourse, vaginal dryness, and failure to achieve orgasm.
So when did the problem first occur?
Um, 6 months after my hysterectomy.
Oh, 6 months after. So, but what prompted you to work on the difficulty?
My gynecologist recommended me to working on it.
Okay. So, how do you feel about masturbation?
I think it's something that maybe it could be um, explored more due to like my physical problems. My pelvic floor therapist um, has recommended seeing counseling, and also she's recommended, probably a little more body exploration.
Okay. How do you feel about sexual fantasy?
I think it's great. I think as long as it's, in my opinion, you're fantasizing about, your loved one, my husband in that case. I don't think it would be right to fantasize about anyone else, but I don't. It's
Okay.
a problem.
Mm, okay. How do you feel about sex toys?
Um, well, my pelvic floor therapist has recommended them. I have actually started using it's not a toy yet. It's called a pelvic wand, and it's used for like muscle soreness that's inside your vaginal area, um, to release tight muscles. Um,
Okay.
so possibly I have that. So maybe maybe that's something else I could explore.
Okay. So, how do you feel about oral sex?
I think oral sex is great because I guess for me it doesn't cause any pain as when it comes to actual intercourse. So I definitely don't have a problem with it.
Okay. So, what are your goals for retraining therapy?
Um, my goal, my goal for therapy is to be able to work on, I guess, the mental side of sex that might help me with some of my physical issues. Um, I know I probably could be a little more open to exploring my body and figure out what works and what doesn't work. And my husband would be included in this as well, and he's open to that too.
Okay. So, how would you like to enhance your sexual fulfillment?
Um, I'd like to get the frequency of intercourse back to where it was. Um, I would like for the interest for myself to be and interest for my partner, for both of us to be, our sexual desire to be increased again. And I like to reduce the pain that comes from working right now.
Okay. So, I want to thank you so much for like telling me all of this information. I think with that being said, we have come to the conclusion of this intake interview. And I want to let you know that I am committed to enhancing your sexuality fulfillment by proactively addressing all of your concerns um, and improvements. Okay. So, in our next section, we are going to be looking at exploring and experimenting activities and techniques that will enhance your sexual pleasure and intimacy. Does that sound good?
That sounds good. Do you think I should bring my husband into the next session?
That sounds good. That's great. Like if you're comfortable, whatever you're comfortable with, um, it's totally fine. He can come with you for the next section if you wish. But would you like to like schedule another appointment for the next section?
Yes, yes, I would like to go ahead and schedule for next week.
Okay. Okay. So our office is open Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. If you have any question at any time, feel free to reach out. But when you walk through the door, you can like make an appointment
Okay.
in front with the front desk. So,
Can I,
but before then,
if I have
yes, go
questions,
ahead.
can
Okay.
I email you or call you? How does that work?
Yes, you have my email on that form. So
Okay.
at any time, that's perfect. You can email me and ask me any question or concern you may have. But for the meantime, if you have any, in case of any emergency, you can either call 911 or you reach out to our office. So to prevent like any kind of hospitalization. So feel free anytime. Okay.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. I feel very comfortable talking with you, and I think you'll be able to help us get these problems solved.
Thank you so much. My pleasure meeting you, and I look forward to seeing you in your next appointment. Okay.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right.
Bye-bye.